Welcome everybody. Let's take a look and see what's going on in the market. So we're going to start with the Dow Jones Transportation here, and this is the cycle we're in right here. Is this big old cycle right here, and you can see today was a down day. Let's talk about this kind of on this large scale, and then we'll zoom in on the day here. But you can see the previous cycle. Let me go back a little bit more. Let's get a better time frame here. Let's go back like 5 years so we can kind of get a big picture here on the daily chart. Normally we do this in a weekly, but it's okay. We'll do it in the daily here. So you can see this big old cycle low here, came up, boom, 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 right-hand translation cycle for the most part. Down there, this was an ideal cycle right in the middle, comes down right there in the middle of that one, boom, boom. Cycles are just like golden. This one's up, track sideways, comes down right here. This is it's kind of an unusual cycle, but I guess you can call it an ideal cycle, kind of. And then now we have got this cycle, okay? The one we're starting here. I guess it kind of started, either it started there or it started there, take your pick. Now, so why are we looking at this? Because it's really important to try and analyze the current cycle in relationship to previous cycles. And why? Because that helps us potentially accurately forecast future cycles. Okay, that's why we do it. So if you look at this cycle here, we'll take this one here. We'll call this number 2 cycle, this big cycle. This is number 1 over here. We'll call this number 3. Doesn't really matter. This is 4. And over here, we're kind of just getting started or a little ways into cycle 5. Okay. Just for the sake of this video, we'll number them like this. So looking at cycle number 1, you can see a peak is right here. Look at number 2 is higher, right? So that's bullish. Also, it happened a little bit on the right side of the cycle, meaning on this side of this line, this over here. All right. So we look at both the peak and we look at the low point. The low point in this entire cycle really is right here. So both this peak and this low are higher than this peak and this low. Okay, so that's very bullish. In this case, it's very bullish. And we would normally say, with this information, there's more to look at than just this, but in cycle analysis, we would say the next cycle, we expect it to be bullish. And boy, was it ever. Look how high this got. It got way up here. Okay. And its low probably realistically is over here, which was slightly higher than this one, just like almost identical, but a little bit higher. So that's still bullish, okay, because the peak is so high and the low is about the same. So we get this next cycle, but guess what? It wasn't bullish. Now the high wasn't, okay, but the low was. So the high was not as high as the previous high, but the low was not as low. Okay, so you got to take that into consideration. All right, so this cycle is kind of bullish in nature, isolated by itself, but it's a little bit showing a hint of weakness moving forward versus where it came from. Now, there's not a whole lot of weakness in that, but there's a little bit there. Okay, so we had this going on like this. See, the peaks are up like this. And then this one's kind of like, let me see if I can get a good line here. Kind of like that, okay? Now, if you look at this, so now that we understand all that, let's go. Let's zoom in on this cycle over here, okay? So look at this far right cycle over here. And so far, this cycle's been pretty weak, right? It's really lower already than this cycle's low, which was right here, or even right there. Okay, because we can't count this as a low because that low there is part of that cycle going over that way. Okay, so this cycle low already is lower than the previous cycle, and it looks like it's having a hard time getting going. You can see today was a pretty decent down day. 221 in range, and it was a pretty significant down day, right? And I think this cycle so far has shown it doesn't have the strength to get up above the previous cycle high, which is probably over here. All right. So the Dow Jones transportation continues to look weak is basically what I'm getting at here. Now, momentum for the moment on the daily chart is still positive. Okay. It's still positive. Now, it may come cross back over here going into July, August, but it hasn't yet. The cycle looks weak to me. Momentum's barely positive. The stochastic momentum index is continuing to show like it's going to come down here, okay? So that's what's going on with the Dow Jones transportation. It looks weaker now than it did just a few days ago, right? Look at this. This is really starting to show some weakness. Okay, so let's look at the Russell 2000 and see what's going on there. Okay, let's see. Do we have any daily charts here? We do. Now, the Russell 2000 has a little bit of a bounce going on to it. But this cycle high was not as high as this previous cycle. But the low definitely was higher than this previous low. All right. So Russell 2000, is it trying to come out of this cycle low over here? Just suppose July 8th cycle low. Today is the 8th. Is that it? It looks like it's trying to turn around. I mean, not doing a great job. But it's still early days here to see what's going on as it moves this way. To me, this might be the cycle low right over here. A little bit like this. Let's see what it does. Does it do that or not? Okay, just looking at these cycles, they look pretty good to me. There's definitely something there, something there. This is a little early, it's okay. Like this one. And then this one came up. This is a left-hand translation cycle, okay? Here's the middle. So this peaked on the left-hand side. That's weak. That's kind of weak. Now, its peak is not as high as a previous peak. And so far, its low is higher than this low, and we're not done. Well, yeah, we're technically done with this cycle as of today. But this just has a weak look to it. Okay, it's just kind of a blasé kind of cycle. All right. We're still in negative territory here on the daily chart on momentum, and this SMI is having a hard time, mounting some kind of rebound. So for the moment, I'd say that Russell 2000, even though it's showing a little bit of strength here, it's not a whole lot. It's kind of trying to crawl out of this low over here. Right, but it hasn't exactly taken off. So this kind of feels neutral-ish to me, short term. I wouldn't call this bullish. It just doesn't, it's kind of feeble here. So we're gonna wait to see how this reacts coming up into here, going out into late July, August. What's it gonna do? Okay. Because there's a lot of weakness kind of forecasted, still for the end of July. So we're going to see what the Russell 2000 does. I would say the Dow Jones and the Russell 2000 still are showing that they're not very strong, right? Especially the Dow Jones transportation looks weak to me. And this is at best neutral. I wouldn't call it bullish, like barely bullish. I would just call it neutral here. So that's not exactly a sign of boding well for the Russell 2000. Okay, now with all that in mind, let's take a look at the S&P 500 futures. So here's the daily chart. Today we hit another all-time high, 56.37, and it was kind of a smallish day here, 26. We'll call it 27, but still the S&P 500 is bullish. I mean, there's just no getting around it. It still has room to go here on the SMI. The momentum is just absolutely still blazing. Look at this momentum. Still blazing. Just ripping. Though it is up around 72 almost. And that's pretty high. Let's see what we have over here. Though it could get to 90. I've seen 90 before. So this is pretty high, not super high, but pretty high on the momentum. for the MACD. The SMI's got room to go. This is still bullish. There's nothing more to say about it. Now, I have this cycle low here for July 11th, which is, just 3 days away from now, but I don't see anything big happening here, not in 3 days. So this, like I said last week, this just looked like it was bullish to me. As soon as I saw this stuff going on like that, in the middle of the cycle, just tracking sideways with no dip at all, I'm like, that's bullish. I've seen that many times before. You get this kind of price action. And considering where it came from, that just felt bullish big time. And sure enough, it was. Okay, so SP 500 on the daily chart, still looking very, very strong. Okay, let's take a look. We'll take a peek at the weekly chart. I haven't looked at it in a few days. Yeah, 5637.5. Obviously today's Monday, so that's the new all-time high. And SMI kind of getting heated here at 83. A little bit heated. 88, we've seen that before over here. So SMI getting kind of hot here. And look at this MACD over here. It was 208. Over here hit 208. It was 208 right there. And what happened? It gave it back. It gave a little bit back coming down to this cycle low. Just a little bit. Wasn't a whole lot. Whatever that was. 200 and like, maybe it was, what was the top of this? Yeah, about 300 points, right? Yeah, it gave up about 300 points there. So nothing too huge. Was that like 5 or 6%? Yeah, this was like a 5 or 6% dip. Okay, because we were at around 5,000 times 6 is 300, so probably a little more than 5%. And here we are up here. Yeah, this thing since then has gone up about 400 plus points. Okay, so 400 point run. And 194. Now this over here was I think the highest I'd ever seen at 208. Trying to think, there was one other time, I think in the 90s where it was blazing hot like that on the weekly chart. But I think I've seen it one other time get that high. It's been a while since I looked at that. Do Max. Hey Max. Let's see. Let's take a peek. I don't think it was ever this high before, at least not in the data that's available here. No. Go all the way back to this only goes back to 1995 on the weekly. And then, SP 500 goes back further than that. But the highest we had was over here, 166 back in 2021. At least for the data that's on here. We could go to the monthly chart and you would probably see something there too. I'm not going to do that right now. So right now, in the last 30 years, and I think it's longer if I remember going back before, looking at this before, the MACD is at probably the second all-time highest number it's ever been at. It was the highest right over here back in April, and it's second highest right now at 194. So this is blazing on fire, guys. I'm not going to get into my rant about how all this is related. The stock market being this high, extremely overvalued. Look, how do I word this? And analysts and everybody, who's on like the gravy train, right? Who agrees with the left and the wokeism and all that stuff. They're always going to do what they do, right? They're going to spew the big lie and say everything's great. Even the rhinos are just as much to blame as the Democrats. And there's a lot of other blame to be spread around as well. Federal Reserve, and I could keep going on and on. Presidents, wars, you name it. All right. And greed, lots of greed. But no real true analyst, someone who's not persuaded by just money and greed, who looks at this objectively, honestly believes that the top 500 companies in America are worth this kind of valuation. No friggin' way. They're just not getting airtime, right? They're not allowed to go on CNN or MSNBC or even Fox. Okay, they're not allowed to go on those news station, guys. That's the real truth. You think they just let anybody go on there and speak to the national audience? No, they don't. If they're not towing the line, they're not getting in front of a camera. Okay, so those people who do honest analysis, there's no freaking way they're getting a voice, right? They're being heavily censored. So a true analyst is going to look at this and say, there's no freaking way these top 500 companies are worth this kind of evaluation. The evaluation is extremely overvalued. Now, why is that important? Because eventually the chickens will come home to roost. And no, I'm not like this doomsday guy and, who puts out a video every day and says the market's going to crash. I don't do that stuff. But the market is propped up. I mentioned in a video of another person's video, who they do some pretty good analysis. And I said that the Federal Reserve was basically breaking the law by having BlackRock buy ETFs in the open market. And they do. They even admitted to, like, I don't remember what it was. It was billions and billions of dollars that the Federal Reserve poured into ETFs. So there's your Federal Reserve, meddling with the stock market, which should be illegal. They're taking, printed up assets. Think about it. They just print up the money. Right? Where are they getting the money? Where does the Federal Reserve get the money? They just make it. They just make money. They're not even really asking taxpayers if, we're going to use your taxpayer money to go do this. In theory, that's what they're doing, but in reality, they're just printing up money. And then they give it to BlackRock, and BlackRock's their proxy, and they went and bought billions. It was a big, huge chunk. Billions of dollars worth of ETFs, and they manipulated the market. And that's just the purchases that they're honest about and telling us about. I guarantee they're probably doing a hell of a lot more than that. They're just not talking about it. Because why? Because they're never audited. The Federal Reserve has never been audited. We're just the whole world, especially Americans, are just supposed to believe that Federal Reserve is the most honest people ever, right? And their books are as squeaky clean as they could possibly be. Give me a break, The stupid Federal Reserve has been around since the early 1900s? Talking over 100 years they've been in existence and they've never been audited. Yeah, their books are just squeaky clean my backside. So they're doing illegal stuff. And they're getting away with it because nobody holds them accountable. And the market is not a free market. And I've been saying this for at least the last 5 years. It is not a free market. They do it and say it's part of their mandate and we're here to save you from yourselves. What a bunch of bullshit. So that's just part of why we see this. It's just a piece. That's one piece of the picture why the stock market is so overly inflated. It's like a overextended balloon. If you just barely touch it, it's going to pop. Okay, mark my words, this is going to happen. Now, I can't say when, but my just instinctively looking at cycles, 2026, 2027, I think is an extremely vulnerable time in America. So that's about 2 to 3 years from now. Extremely vulnerable. Okay, and as we go from like 2026 all the way down into the early 2030s, better watch out. I think there's a lot of vulnerability there. So I could see the stock market guys and gals pulling back 30, 40, 50%. Maybe not all at one time, but I think there's going to be a big baboomski. The other thing I want to talk about just briefly here, since we're on the subject, and we'll get back to this video here and talk about the charts here in a moment, but I think the national debt is something they're going to have to deal with. They can't just ignore it. So far, it's just been ignored. Sweep the stepchild underneath the carpet. Well, they swept it so much under the carpet, it's this huge, massive lump. The lump under the carpet from all the crap they've shoved underneath there is so large you can't even get down. You can't get from the kitchen to the front door. You know what I mean? You can't get out of the house anymore because they swept so much crap underneath the carpet. And I think what's going to happen here with the $35 trillion of debt, they're going to make some kind of debt deal. They're going to wipe out this debt. Now, how they're going to go about it exactly, I can't say, but I think they're going to notify the biggest holders of debt. That's going to be like China and others, okay? And they're going to wipe that freaking debt clean. And that's going to be there's going to be a big fallout from that. Huge fallout. There's going to be some kind of agreement. And the American citizens can become, well, how do I put this? Servants. Because there's going to be some kind of deal. And, you know, what does America have to trade? You know, when we got resources, America has great resources and it has people. And yes, when you talk about trillions of dollars in debt like that, they do view people as a resource. Just in case you're wondering. So one of the resources in America is the people themselves, as well as other resources like oil, and there are some other great natural resources that we have. So I think all that is on the line. All that is on the table. And I think the dollar is going to be extremely devalued. I just don't see any way around it. They're going to wipe out that debt. The dollar now is what, well over 100? Get ready for it to plummet below 50, 30, 20. It's going to do a huge dive. It's going to be way down there. And I think, you know, in the past, there's been wars over this kind of stuff. So that's kind of my big, long, you know, looking way out in the future kind of stuff. It may not be too far in the future as you think. I just don't see them getting around the debt. It's not possible. I don't think that they're not going to allow America to go down into a banana republic the traditional way, if there's such a thing. They're going to take some extraordinary action, whoever they is. Okay. So that's what's going to happen. That bubble's going to burst. It isn't just the stock market we're talking about. We're talking about America, period. It's going to burst, and it's going to be nasty. And I said this before, I'm going to say it again. I really don't think the stock market and the market in general is a place to have your money. If you're profiting off the market, I wouldn't hold it in greenbacks. Meaning, if you have a balance in your brokerage account, I would be parlaying profits into something that's tangible. Real estate, gold, silver. I'm talking real gold and silver. Like you have your hands on, you know, gold and silver. Okay, you need to put your money somewhere. You know, real estate's probably pretty decent place to put it, because at least you have something, right? You have something to show for it. Okay, I honestly believe the dollar is going to get so smacked down that you're going to see there's just going to be massive losses. You think the 1929, the early 1930s was bad? Wait till you see what's coming. Just wait. Just think about it. The late 1920s and the early and kind of going into the mid 1930s was the Great Depression. What's coming next is going to make that look like child's play. And I'm being dead serious. I know I'm not just some doomsday kind of guy, but there's no sliding out of this one easy. Okay, let's get into the intraday charts and see what the trades of the day were. All right, the first thing we're going to look at is the 15-minute chart. Then we're going to switch over to the 5-minute charts. So if you look back over here, this was last night, started right here. Futures opened up Sunday night, 5 p.m. and they're about to close here in about 15 minutes over here. Okay. So look down here. We get this signal here, which was just after midnight, 12:30. Look at that. What a run. Beautiful. Wow. Now on this one, what I would personally do is wait a little bit, and as soon as it broke above this line over here and got up into this area right here, so about right here, I'm taking the trade. Okay, and I'm in. And that runs about a good 6 points right here. Okay, it takes a dip, and I talk about this all the time. That's a cheesy looking 6, but it's supposed to be a 6. I talk about this all the time. Once you get the Gittes Plus indicator indicating something like that, keep an eye on the SMI. Look at this SMI. What does it do? It doesn't even get to the bottom. It doesn't come down here and touch this bottom line. Man, that is so bullish. And you've got this, look at the MACD over here. Let's stretch this out just a little bit. Look at this MACD, way above the zero line, way up here. Okay? So that is everything you want to see. That is so bullish. It starts to turn and burn. Bam, you're in the trade somewhere right in that area. I'd put it right about here. Okay, and then from there, guys, look at this thing of beauty all the way to the peak. Just let it keep running. It hasn't rolled over. You could take it all the way to this little nodule right here, which is about this big green candlestick. Okay, so we'll put that at about 32. So you're looking at about 22 to 32 is 10 points. And that was going into basically pre-market just all the way up to just before the market opened up for intraday. Look at that, 16 points right here. So you got 16 points right there on the 15-minute chart from last night all the way pre-market, all the way to the opening bell. That is just awesome. Look at this momentum here. Wow. And this right here is golden. That's just gold. You want to see that. Those are the kind of things you want to see. All right. Now let's go look at so remember 16 points here on the 15-minute chart. That's one way you could trade that. Let's go look at the 5-minute chart. Okay, so here was that run up we just saw on the 15-minute chart way over here. The market starts to show some weakness, showing weakness. We get a signal right here. Boom, right here. It's the same thing. What happens to the SMI? It can't get to the top. Look at this. It can't make it to the top. Boom. As soon as it rolled over like that, take the short. Bam, 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 all the way down into there. Look at the MACD. It goes negative, stays negative down here. Huge. Okay, so that puts you at about right here. I'll call that about 24. It runs all the way down to about, we'll call it 17. So 3 and 4 makes 7. All this over here was 16, so we'll just put a 16 over there. Sweet. And if you didn't trade anything else for the rest of the day, you made a lot of money here. You made 23 points on a really small day. Right? I mean, today the money maker was pre-market for sure. Look at this massive run up. And then there were some chances here. This one over here, you could trade this one. This wasn't a bad trade. This was a little bit after 1 o'clock in the afternoon. It wasn't a bad trade. This came over like this, started to roll over. You could take the short right there, wait for it, and bam, look at this, came all the way down here. So probably 25, realistically down to about 18 or 19. That's definitely tradable right there. Okay, so that's about 7 points there too. So those 3 trades right there, to me, are all very doable and I think very reasonable. Let's put the 7 over here because it's kind of where it started. Okay, so even if you didn't trade to pre-market, which is where you should be up, you know, for people who can't get up, well, I don't know what to tell you. You gotta make adjustments, but you should be up early looking for opportunities early because this was just massive. 16 and 14 makes for 30. Okay, so that was that. These 3 trades are pretty solid, pretty easy to hit. Okay, there was a trade last night that I saw. I wanted to just look at it real quick, see if I can find it. It was last night. Yeah, right here. I was up late, 2:05. Look at this trade. This was an excellent trade, by the way, at 2 o'clock in the morning on the 5-minute chart. I saw this right here. Look at that. It never got down to the bottom. It turned, started going up. I'm like, oh my goodness, Babamski. We saw this on the 15-minute chart too. Then the London market came in at 3 o'clock like they normally do. Jay just basically did nothing for 3 hours. And then, bam, they ran it up. Along with pre-market US. Ran it all the way up there to new all-time highs. So there was opportunities, guys. I mean, if this video right here that I just did, If you can't see how to make money, I just showed you how to make money. Okay. The Get Us Plus indicator plus look at the SMI and how when the SMI doesn't reach either the very top or the very bottom lines, that tells you if it doesn't reach the bottom like this, that's bullish. If it doesn't reach the top line, okay, like right here, say it didn't reach the top and started to curl over, that's bearish. See how it never got up there? Plus you got the MACD telling you we're going south. Okay? So that's the way you do it. The Get Us Plus indicator will kind of help you sometimes with the timing part, all right? But you don't always have to rely on it 100%. It's just meant to get the ball rolling. Then from there, you're supposed to be doing analysis, right? So there was opportunities to make some serious bucks today. Okay, you should really join as a member. If you haven't joined and you've been sitting on the sidelines, I mean, you know, you're watching these videos every day, right? You should join. It's friggin' $7.99. I mean, get your, you know what, together and start making some bank. All right, the discord.com link is in the instructions of this video. It's also the top comment in this video on YouTube. Read those instructions, click on discord.com. Link brings you to Get a Server, then click on Server Shop. It's going to bring you here, $7.99. I mean, I'll be honest with you, you know, this just really is just my straight up opinion without any baloney. I honestly think if you're patient, you're going to make enough money to pay for the membership. It's the people who are in a hurry and looking for gold at the end of the rainbow on day one or week one or all that kind of stuff. They're the ones that come and go. They don't know how to. They're very high strung. They don't know how to calm themselves down and make money. They jump from one service to the next or one YouTube video to the next. They're bouncing around, losing money all over the place, never happy. That's because they don't know how to calm down. To make money, you have to have a certain calm about yourself. Okay, you have to be patient. Okay, but that kind of crowd that's always looking for the quick buck and never actually gets it, or they only get it occasionally, and then they think that one time out of 50 that they nailed it, that it's always going to be that way. So they're always looking for the golden goose, and they never find it, right? And they probably lose more than they make. Okay, but here, use the membership, right? Use it to your advantage. The streaming charts are down here. We looked at the 15-minute and the 5-minute chart. There's also a 1-hour chart right here. Just click on it, watch the stream. If you're doing intraday trading, this is a great thing to be watching. Okay, when you join, just ask me in the member chat for the link to the gold streaming charts. I'll give you that too. And while you're at it, ask me, if you're a new member, ask me for the, excuse me, ask me for the new members video and I'll give it to you. Okay, that's a video kind of help point you in the right direction about some of the indicators, all right? But everything you saw in this video earlier already showed you how to make money. Okay, it's not rocket science. You just have to go back, watch the video, slow it down, pause it, think about it. It's there for you to make money. Okay. Every night I send out an email. And I send out 5 different charts. 5 charts. The weekly, the daily S&P 500 futures chart, and then there's 3 2-hour directional charts. Now, those 2-hour directional charts are very powerful. There's one for the SPX, which is the S&P 500. There's one for the NDX, which is the NASDAQ. And there's one for the RUT, which is the Russell 2000. They all are a 2-hour chart. They go into email every night, and they have a directional indicator on there. It's either green for good, we're going up, or red is I shouldn't say good, but green is we're going bullish. You're making money going long. Or it's red, and you're making money going short because it's bearish, right? It's that simple. That's what's on those charts. And I use them. Today I didn't do a whole lot of trading. I just kind of laid back a little bit. I had other things going on, but I was paying attention to the Russell 2000. That on my 2-hour directional charts, what you'll get in this email, the last few sessions have been green, meaning it's indicating bullish. So that switched from bearish to bullish the last few days. All right, and today we had a big gap up on the Russell 2000 on the index. So I see sometimes, guys, I'll lay back a little bit. I won't trade right away every day. I'll let that thing breathe a little. I want to see what it's doing. And now I have a sense for the Russell 2000 that looks a little bit bullish right now. And that's informational, and I will decide whether I'm going to trade that product. I might trade gold. I might trade some of the other indexes, whatever. But all that's very useful information, okay? So that's what you get in the email. Plus, I give my opinion about the market every, a couple sentences or more of what I think the market's going to do the next day, okay? In the Get Us Only post, I post this video every day, Monday through Thursday, so you can watch this daily video right here in this channel. Okay, I also notify the members in this channel when the email goes out every night. Premium symbols, I put symbols in there every day, Monday through Thursday. I think I saw natural gas in there and something else. Soybeans, maybe, for futures. So for those guys and gals that trade natural gas, you might want to check out the symbols. They're in there. There's also optional stock symbols in there, short symbols in there, and industries in there. The industry symbols are really nice. Okay, they tell you where the money's flowing. Money's flowing in, and the money's flowing out of these symbols for the industries. So I know some people like to trade that way. They like to look to see where the money's flowing in and out of those industries. Well, those symbols will help you. Grab the symbol, stick it in the chart, and go see what it's doing. Right? Okay, fixed income. Now, I've been talking about this lately. I parlay my profits from my swing trades or my intraday trades into corporate bonds, so that this approach, I'm both doing trading and investing. Right? I take my profits from trading and move them to investments. Okay, I've talked about this many times before. If you're not doing both of these, you're, in my opinion, making a mistake. You should be doing both of these. You should be figuring out a way to be profitable in trading and then parlay it into investments that you're not going to touch. And the number one way for young people is a 401k, where your employer contributes to your 401k. And you should be putting your maximum amount allowed into this 401k as long as they're contributing. Okay? So for every dollar they match, you should be putting in as much as you can put in there. That's a great way to build a fortune, okay, for retirement. And this is tax shelter, so you don't pay any taxes on this until way later in life. And yes, taxes become a big deal as you get older. So that's the number one way for young people. But there's other things you could be doing. You can take your profits and move them into, instead of, like I do, corporate bonds. You could do that if you want to do that. That's great. Or you can move them into real estate. Talked about that before too. You could do rental real estate, rent out real estate, if you want to do that. Okay. So those are things you should be thinking about. Right. So there's a lot going on here. Okay. Let me talk about the rules. We'll finish up the video. There's a disclaimer that I'm not a financial advisor. So no matter what I say or anybody else says on this entire server or in my videos, strictly educational purposes only. You're responsible for your own trades. Okay. Use the service to your advantage. Okay. Learn how to make some bank, but you got to be responsible for your own trades. Okay. That's the way it works. There's a refund rule in there, so make sure you read that. Last thing is, don't be a troll. Don't come on the server trying to tell everybody what to do and when to do it. Don't be a jerk. Be kind. Be respectful. Because if not, I'm going to delete your junk. Okay, and if you become a real bad troll, okay, I'm not going to tolerate it. I might kick you or ban you. So just come and be cool. Enjoy the service. Make some bank. Okay. All right, that pretty much covers it for today. Happy trading, everybody. God bless everybody. Talk to all real soon again next time.